Is it build next week?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, that's so.
I know.
So what is the
It
date
was
today?
always
Is
months away, and now it's days
yeah,
away.
today's the 20th.
Is it really the 20th? Wow.
I know, like May is just kind of coming, gone.
Yeah.
So file this one under F for rumors because that makes
Okay.
sense.
That's okay.
Um, I think Joe B took another sabbatical or is like floating around from
Really?
Microsoft. Yeah,
Well, I mean, he had it's had such a great impact on everything. He'll
we'll
be
see.
missed.
Just that's the rumor floating around. So well, just do with that information that you would do with anything else you file under F for rumors. I don't know
Sure.
why rumors go under F,
Well,
but
he's got collections. Is that what it's called? The Edge feature under his belt. I mean, you know,
yeah,
done and done, right?
yeah. Anyway, so you're still in Mexico in the caldera. Wait, is it a caldera?
I don't know. That sounds good. That sounds
Yeah,
like
well,
exactly what I'm in. They
the bowl of
a
Mexico
light
City.
and heat funnel of some kind.
Light and heat funnel.
Yep.
Turns out you don't. Do you have a heater for that place?
Nope. We don't have heating or cooling.
Oh, or cooling.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that second one that gets you.
Yeah. We bought a bunch of fans. This is actually the hottest time of the year here, so it gets into the mid 80s.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Is it
It's
because of the
dry.
elevation? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
look at me knowing topography of
No, you're
Mexico
right.
City.
It's like 7,500 feet in the air. It
Yeah.
makes Denver look like a valley. But it's not exactly the Andes or anything. But I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, it's high altitude, so it's good. It's good for your heart too. You walk around, just walking down to get like a taco, your heart almost explodes. You get like AFib things going on in my Fitbit all day long. I don't know what's going on. No.
Your watch is like, you were actively dying. Like, no, it's just the altitude.
She's like, yeah, no, I can feel it. It's just go on without me. Sit here in this doorway and die.
It's just a really chipper Friday episode. I mean, we are just
Been a
knocking it
long
out of
week.
the park for self-esteem.
Oh, it's a long week, Brad.
Has it been a long week for you, Paul? I think I can tell. Maybe you should go to IKEA. You haven't been there lately. I mean, that's...
If I never see another IKEA again, as long as I live, I swear to God, I can't. I don't
It's where
even like IKEA.
it's where you made your first authentic Mexican friend or Mexican citizen.
That's absolutely true. That's true. It's
So,
there's weird stuff. You've experienced this kind of thing. Like the last trip we were here back in March, maybe
mhm.
it was horrible. It's just a really quick trip. It was just horrible. A lot of stress. It just both of us got sick. It was terrible. But we had this weird experience where we were over in Centro, over by the hotel. We had that was where we had that terrible Airbnb experience.
Yeah.
Remember? And the waiter comes around the corner and he goes, "Hey, I know you guys. I saw you in it's some taco place over near here. These
Hmm.
places are not close to each other. I thought I love coincidences like that. In a city with 22 million people in it, like that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
But we know people here now already, and it's funny. Like we were sitting in a restaurant eating breakfast the other morning, and everything out here is outside, so you sit
Hmm.
kind of on the sidewalk right next to the street. This cab pulls up, this guy gets out, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's like, "Hey, what's up?" It was like this guy we knew. Like I was just weird, like that's already happened. And we've only been here like 12 days. Like,
I mean, are you... Well, okay, this is going to sound weird. So you're not an expat. Are you like a current pat? Like,
well, no, I think an expat technically is somebody who moves outside of their country, leaves their country.
yeah.
So I'm not really an expat. I'm
So you're like a current pat because like you haven't
a
left.
current. Well, it's expatriate is the full term, right? So
Right.
Brad, I am a patriot. I want to be clear about that. So, no, I don't know. I don't know that there is a term for me. I just
Yeah, I don't know if there's a term for
we're
you
just
either.
visiting. We're tourists. I don't know.
But
Tourist with an
roots?
investment.
Like,
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know what the term is.
we're going with current pat because I like
I
it.
think I think people have plenty of names for me, Brad. We don't need to add to the list.
Speaking of current things, apparently Apple is showing off their AV VR headset. Nothing says quality leak like when things are leaking out of the boardroom.
Yeah.
At this point,
Right.
Apple
Right.
has no secrets.
I know. Why even bother? Just open the windows, guys. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Or everybody cares. Maybe that's the issue. By the way, I don't know if we ever discussed this, but there's a book out now called After Steve.
Yeah, I saw that you read it. Is it worth reading?
It is more than worth reading. It is one of the best computer industry business books ever written. It's excellent. And it is the only book I'm aware of and detailed kind of history of the post-Jobs era at Apple.
Hmm.
I'm not quite done with it. I more stuff keeps coming out. I can't believe how much information is in this. But this, the reason I mentioned it now, you should read it. So what?
Yeah, no, I
Period.
probably will.
Full stop. But this board thing reminds me of a story in the book, which is Apple agreed to do autonomous cars because this really important group of engineers were quitting.
Hmm.
And finally, they said, "Look, we can't let go of these guys. They're too important." They said, we'll let you do anything you want. What do you want to do?" I said, "We want to build cars." And they're like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So that's what happened. And Johnny Ive, in one of his death throes at Apple, because he really just lost interest in everything at the end, and was just tired of like constant iteration of the, like, oh good, the 21st iPhone, fantastic.
Hmm.
Wanted to do different things, and so he he took over like product development as well as design, and he was really bad at that. But he did a demo for Tim Cook that's in the book that's very reminiscent of this board story, where it was just all totally faked. It was just the vision for the car. And the idea was that it would be completely driverless. So there's no need for a steering wheel. So people would just kind of face each other. And they had a person doing the voice of Siri. So he'd be like, "Siri, take us to blah, blah, blah." They're like, "Okay," and they would drive. And then a fake background would go by, like they're going down the street. And he's like, "Oh, hey, Siri, what's that restaurant?" And it's like, "Oh, it's Siri just told me
Yep.
this game." So I got to stop saying that name. So Tim Cook apparently was really impressed by this, but the group of engineers who were all like witnessing this were all like,
Mm.
"Geez, like what?" They just showed nonsense. Like
Yeah.
they're like, "We don't have any of that. Like this is just a dream of what this thing could look like."
Hmm.
So I'm guessing I mean, I don't know what the order of things is. I guess you would show Tim Cook something earlier than the board. I guess
Yeah, I
if you
would
go to
hope.
the board, maybe it's a little further along. But the headlines are sort of like, "Hey, it's like whatever it was. Apple shows its board. What's next after the iPhone?" And it's like, wasn't that the Apple Watch?
Yeah.
I thought it was services. No, I guess it's not the car. I guess it's this thing now.
There was a headline recently that the Apple Watch like failed to live up to expectations for Apple,
Yeah,
which
and
I
that's in the
find
book. That's in the book. Yeah.
to me that's kind of crazy considering that it's the wearable. I mean, look
That's
at
true.
Fitbit.
Well,
I mean, it's a
yeah.
small market.
No, you're right. You're right. And so Apple came into this market with a more expensive device and now sells much more than the least expensive devices. And that's
Yeah.
a success of a certain level. So so two things about that. So one is it's a much smaller market than, like phones or
Yeah,
even
because you have to
tablets
have a phone at least as of currently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's so I'm going to get this number. You're going to think I'm exaggerating this. I believe this is the correct number. You know how we have this notion at Microsoft, like it has to be $1 billion business for it
Yep.
to make sense? Do you know what the number is at Apple? Like what the number was when they made the watch?
Oh, I mean, considering, I bet it's.
It's like this is unfair. You could never guess. You would
I
never
would, I would guess like 5 billion. I don't even
Yeah,
know.
20. 20 billion. That was the number. If this
That's-
thing doesn't turn into a $20 billion business, it's not worth doing. And that's the problem with the like the law of big numbers, or what do they call
Yeah.
it? Like but compared to businesses like the Mac, the iPad, the iPhone, obviously the big one, and then just services in general now, I would say, although that wasn't the case back then.
Yeah.
It's just so the second thing is just you got to remember, you got to kind of think back, like when the Apple Watch first came back, it was actually marketed as a luxury piece of jewelry. So the first generation sold horribly, like it did really bad. And Johnny Ive was like hanging out with all these luxury watchmakers and fashion people, and he was like, he made this kind of for them, and it's like that's cute, but there's only like 100 of them.
Yeah.
Like we, So the one thing they found, semi-obviously, and retroactively, although I argued for this at the time, was that the health, fitness, stuff weren't great, and so that's where they went with it. And of course,
That's where they latched on, which makes sense. I mean,
that's why it's successful.
Yeah.
I see people all the time. We were in a restaurant the other night, and some guy was kind of just, I don't know how he was sitting, but he was sitting in such a way I could see his watch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had the ring thing, we close the rings, right?
Yeah.
It's better than I do. I don't even have one.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was looking at it, and I'm looking at my wife, and I'm like, like, he's going to close his rings right now. Like, it's like this
Oh,
close. I'm like, if he just moves his arm a little bit, I'm like, you should get up and go to the bathroom. You know, I could see it on his wrist, you know, and it's a big deal for people, I think.
it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it gives you a baseline of like, did I slump today or did I actually just do
Yeah.
the minimum?
Yeah. Yeah. No, my Fitbit has a notification that it just queues up every day telling me I did the minimum. So I know what that's like.
Yeah, all we need to do is just slightly above that, and we will progress through society.
You are barely alive. Congratulations. It actually throws some fireworks up. They're like, we know you're struggling, so
You
good
should
for
just
you.
take your tombstone and just place it the next day on the calendar. Be like, not today,
I'll
Satan.
just carve a Fitbit into it. Like, this is what happened.
Oh, so it is Friday. You head home tomorrow, correct?
Well, I thought it was coming home Tuesday, Brad. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's the current plan. United actually sent me an email yesterday. It said, "Hey, we're really sorry that your flight from Mexico City got canceled. Would you like to provide us with some feedback?" Oh yeah, yeah. You bet I want to provide you with some feedback. You think I write screeds on Twitter? You should have seen this little bit of feedback.
Like,
No,
what feedback could you provide other than you effed us over?
I
Like,
I said I am convinced that you invented this weather incident. We examined the weather at both locations for this flight. I believe that you broke the law, and we're considering never using your airline again. So I guess, how's that for feedback? That was
yeah,
just the beginning. At the end, the best part was the end where they said, "Is there anything else you'd like to say?" And I was like, I wrote, "Yes, there is. Thank you for asking." Then I
go
went
look at
on
the
for about,
mirror,
yeah,
and
500
that's the
words.
person I don't like today.
Yep. Yep.
Well, we look forward to your repatriation.
Yeah, I do too, actually.